Okay, my wonderful Book of Mormon students, this is going to be our video that covers the storyline for the Book of Mosiah. It can be a little bit complicated. It shouldn't take us too long, though, to go through this. Hey, on the left-hand side here, there's a QR code to participate in the 150th anniversary of BYU. If you scan that QR code, you have an opportunity to fill up some questions about the light of Jesus Christ in your life. And then there's a television in the JSB that will show maybe your picture and your answer to those questions. And I don't know, maybe you can get a date that way. And remember, there's an Unalone Club to helping those struggling with pornography or those helping those struggling with pornography. Please take advantage of this space where you can get support and help. You deserve it. Okay. Let's see. This is going to be our QR code for attendance. Thank you, Alex. My word. All right. Okay. Let it die. Let it die. All right. I like this picture of Mormon here. Here he is. Look at all these records. This is way more than the other ones. The other pictures I've seen. He's got the title of Liberty. Look at that. He's got the Liahona on the shelf. I mean, he has got so much stuff. And there's his little son, Moroni, playing with something. So this is Mormon. He's putting together the plates, compiling all of these records, putting them on a single set of plates before and that's what becomes that little set of plates right there in the middle. That's what becomes the Book of Mormon. Okay. Looks like maybe the small plates of Nephi are over there on the table as well. That's first, second Nephi, Jacob, Enos, Jerem, Omni. So it's kind of interesting. Good job, artist. Okay, I don't know who painted it, but whoever they did a great job. Okay, now here is the storyline of Mosiah. Mormon's going to tell this story. You get a little bit of in Omni from Amalekite, but most of it is told by Mormon in the Book of Mosiah. Remember, Mormon's the one who is narrating the Book of Mosiah. Okay, it starts out like this. There are two areas, central areas that we're talking about in the Book of Mosiah. There's the land of Nephi, or sometimes called the land of Lehi Nephi. This is the land that was established by Nephi, like the original Nephi, son of Lehi, brother of Jacob, when he separated from Laman and Lemuel in 2nd Nephi 5. And he built a temple there. And this is where Nephi lives and dies. This is where Jacob lives and dies. And the Nephites, as they're known, are in the land of Lehi and Nephi for 300 years. 300 years until a guy comes along. His name is King Mosiah. And King Mosiah says, we have to leave the land of Nephi. They've been there 300 years. And he's like, nope, we're out. That's a huge thing. That's not like they just got there, right? 300 years. And they're like, man, we've been here a long time. Our grandparents are here. Their grandparents were here. He's like, we've got to go. So they follow King Mosiah, I guess. I'm guessing everyone, I don't know, follows King Mosiah into the wilderness. They don't know where they're going, but they end up finding a people. They're called the Mulekites, and they live in the land of Zarahemla. Who are the Mulekites? The Mulekites are people who left Jerusalem at the same time ish as Lehi and his family. They have been living in this new world for hundreds of years. So they're like, hey, where are you from? We're from Jerusalem. We've been here, 400, 500 years. We're from Jerusalem. We've been here 400 or 500 years. Holy cow, good to meet you. Let's unite. And so they unite under King Mosiah. Eventually, King Mosiah dies, and his son, Benjamin, becomes king. So that's a pretty simple story so far, right? You have the land of Lehi Nephi, where the original Nephi is. Eventually, 300 years after he dies or so, King Mosiah takes the Nephites into the wilderness, and they find the people of Zarahemla, who are the Mulekites. So the land of Zarahemla, the city of Zarahemla, is actually a Mulekite city originally, but becomes a Nephite city because they unite. All right. I wonder if the Mulekites would say they united. They're like, yeah, united. They took over. Okay, so the story then starts with the Nephites all living up in the land of Zarahemla with the Mulekites, who are now Nephites, right? They united. And the Lamanites down in the land of Lehi Nephi are like, whoa, free city. Holy cow, where did they all go? Where have my class gone? And so they move in there. The Lamanites move in there. So you have Nephites in the land of Zarahemla with the Mulekites, who are now Nephites, and the Lamanites in the land of Lehi, Nephi, because the Nephites left it. All right, this is where we start to get a little bit more into the weeds, a little bit more into details. There is a group of Nephites who want to reclaim the land of Lehi, Nephi. They are like, hey, I forgot something, or I left the TV on, or I liked it better down there. I don't like Mulekites. I want to go back to where we came from. So a group of Nephites go down to reclaim the land of Nephi. But what happens is they get in a big old fight. We read about this. Look at the references here. Omni 1 and Mosiah 9. They get in a big old fight over if they're going to kill Lamanites or not. Some people are like, let's kill the Lamanites. And other people are like, I like Lamanites. Let's not kill them. Let's make a deal with them. Anyway, they're like, I won't kill Lamanites. I'll kill you. And they fight with each other. And only, I think, 50 go back to the land of Zarahemla. And so people are like, well, what happened? Where's Grandpa? He's like, well, man, he was just too mouthy. All right. So didn't go so well, this effort to reclaim. But this guy named Zeneph, you can call him Zenith if you want to. I go back and forth. This guy named Zeneph says, I really want to do this. I want to reclaim the land of Nephi. And the Lamanites are not bad people. They're good people. So let's go down there. And so Zeneph heads on down and goes into the land of Lehi, Nephi. And the Lamanites are like, this is yours? We are so sorry. Like, we just saw a free city and we didn't know it was yours and we took it. So fellas, let's get out of here. And Xenoph's like, see, the Lamanites are not so bad. They're leaving because this is our city. It's almost too good to be true. Okay, it is. All right, so let's keep going then. The next part of our story is that the king down in the land of Lehi Nephi is now King Zeneph from journey number 2. Do you see him right there? A Nephite group led by Zeneph. They come down. The Lamanites are like, we'll leave. And Zeneph becomes king. But Zeneph dies, and Noah, his son, becomes king. This isn't the Noah who built the ark. If you even thought that, that is weird. Don't even do that. You're going to be so confused. That guy's in the Bible, in the book of Genesis. This is a totally different guy. This guy's a Nephite in the book of Mormon. And he is not so great. You probably know this story, most of you already, that the Lord sends the prophet Abinadi to King Noah. There he is with his plant on his head and his big old elf shoes. And the jaguars were like, wow, wow. And there's Abinadi, ripped Santa Claus, right? And you're like, well, he's not that ripped. Yeah, he is. If your grandpa took off his shirt at the pool and he looked like that, you'd be like, whoa, my grandpa's ripped. And there's Alma in the back, Alma the elder, who is like listening, and Abinadi saying, you guys are the worst, right? You're supposed to teach these people and you don't live the commandments at all. If you teach the law of Moses, why don't you try living it? And Noah doesn't like to be talked to that way. The jaguars are like, don't talk to him that way. And he ends up burning Abinadi. And Noah is thinking, I think I've made a huge mistake. And he did. It's going to end up costing him big. But do you remember there was one priest? What's his name? Alma. Alma decides he believes in the words of Abinadi. He takes a group of followers to the words of Mormon because he is terrified of the king. The king is hunting for Alma. And so they go to the Waters of Mormon, and eventually they have to leave. Waters of Mormon is Mosiah chapter 18. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But eventually, Alma and his followers end up building a city, a place called the land of Helam. And they're thinking, let's just stay here for the rest of our lives. This is awesome, right? We got away from our bad friends. We have a new life now. Things are awesome. All right, what's going on back home? At that very moment where Noah is looking for Alma, like, where'd you go, Alma? The Lamanites come back and attack. Shocker. They had been really pushing Zeneph when he was king, and now they're like, Noah's king, we can take over. So Noah's searching for Alma, and all of a sudden he looks in his rearview mirror, and here comes all the Lamanites, and he, being the great king that he is, runs away. He runs far away and tells the men to leave their wives and children and to protect him. And some of them do, and they get out there, and he's out there with his wicked priests and some of the people who were smart enough to leave their families to protect this guy. And they're so mad that they did that they have a barbecue and they light Noah on fire. Wow, that's no bueno. So what happens next is the priests of King Noah get away. they're out there and they get away. And what happens back in the land of Lehi Nephi? Noah's son Limhi takes control. So his grandpa is Zenith, his dad was Noah, and he is Limhi. And apparently he's super good looking. So we'll call Limhi the model. I don't know. Poor Limhi, his good looks were not going to get him out of bondage from the Lamanites, and they are taxing the Nephites greatly. Like basically, they're slaves to the Lamanites. All right. Well, what's happening out with these wicked priests? They find some daughters of the Lamanite. There's 24 of them. I know there's only six. Each one counts as four. And they're like, "Hey, ladies, how you been?" And they steal these Lamanite daughters and take them into the wilderness. So we have the wicked priests with the Lamanite daughters. They basically kidnap them and take them away. And the Lamanites are upset, and they are fighting with Limhi and his people because apparently they think that Limhi and his people did it. Limhi's like, "We didn't do it. Why did you attack us?" And they're like, "You stole our daughters." And he's like, "We didn't steal your daughters." Bet it's the wicked priests and Noah. Oh, stupid. About this same time, those of you who know the Book of Mormon well, about this same time, back in the land of Zarahemla, you have King Benjamin getting close to the end of his life, and so he gives this masterful sermon. Sometimes we think, oh, that happens in the beginning. It actually happens after the death of Abinadi that Benjamin gives this sermon. So even though it's in the beginning, it kind of comes out of order. Almost the entire book of Mosiah comes out of order. There's a lot happening at the same time. All right, how are we doing so far? So Limhi is in bondage to the Lamanites. He wants to get out. So what does he do? He sends a group of people to look for Zarahemla. Now, has Limhi ever been to Zarahemla? No. Has Noah ever, his dad, ever been to Zarahemla? No. Who had been from Zarahemla? Right, his grandpa Zeniff. Limhi's grandpa Zeniff had been from Zarahemla, and he's thinking, well, maybe they're still up there and they can help us. So he sends a group of 43 people to find the land of Zarahemla, and they come back and they say, we've got good news and we've got bad news. The bad news is Zarahemla has been destroyed. And he's like, that is bad news because they're never going to get out of bondage to the Lamanites. However, we brought home souvenirs. And the souvenirs are what end up being to us the 24 gold plates of ether. I don't know. I'm guessing there's 24 gold, like not just plates, but like 24 like plates, like sets of plates. Who knows? But they bring them all back, and Limhi's thinking, this is awful, right? I can't read this record, so the souvenirs aren't any good. And Zarahemla's been destroyed. Shockingly to Limhi, I'm sure, someone shows up from Zarahemla. His name is Ammon. This isn't cut your arms off Ammon. This is Ammon. He's a Mulekite. There's two Ammons in the Book of Mormon, and this is the non-exciting one, I guess. He has led a search party down to the land of Nephi to find the Nephites that left, or the descendants of the Nephites that left. Get this, 80 years ago. It's been 80 years since Zeniff and the people left, and they're like, where did they go? You'd think, if your roommate left, about 80 years later, be like, where did she go? So King Mosiah, Benjamin has died, and King Mosiah II, we'll call him Mosiah II because Mosiah is Benjamin's dad and his son. Mosiah II has sent Ammon and this group of people to go look for the land of Nephi. But of course, Limhi thinks that Zarahemla's been destroyed. So when he sees Ammon and his men, he's like, well, if they're Nephites, they're obviously the wicked priests of King Noah, and he imprisons them. And some welcome gift for coming down to help you. You put me in prison. But good news. They escape. Limhi and his people, by using Ammon and all the people and the men he brought, they are able to escape out of the Lamanite hands, and they end up in the land of Zarahemla. So Zeniff left, Grandpa left, and Limhi, grandson, returns to the land of Nephi. And of course, all the girls there are like, wow, he has great hair. All right, well, the story continues. The Lamanites down in the land of Nephi are like, hey, where are our slaves? Slaves, where are you going? And so they chase after them, but they get lost in the wilderness. These Lamanites get lost in the wilderness and they're like, oh no, what are we going to do? And so they end up looking and looking and looking. And guess who they find? They find their daughters with the wicked priests. And you're thinking, finally, the wicked priests are going to get what's coming to them. They totally deserve this because they have made life so hard for everyone else. What are the Lamanites going to do to the wicked priests? Nothing, absolutely nothing. They unite with them into one big happy family because the Lamanite daughters are like, I know he kidnapped me, but I love him. And now they're lost out there. They don't know what to do. They can't find the land of Nephi. And they just happen to, it's so sad. Where do they happen to go? They just happen to find Alma. Oh, poor Alma. They just happen to find Alma in the land of Helam. And this is not Alma's day. Can you imagine? You're like, no, 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 no. This can't be happening, right? Like, I got away from these wicked priests. He was once a wicked priest, and these guys, they could have gone anywhere. They could have gone north and south and east or west or off the slide. They could have gone anywhere, but they go to the land of Helam and they put Alma and his friends, his faithful friends, into bondage and slavery. But eventually, Alma and his people pray, and God says, I can help you out. And they escape. And they end up freed from bondage in the land of Zarahemla. So at the very end of the book of Mosiah, guess what you have? You have Nephites in the land of Zarahemla and Lamanites in the land of Nephi, along with the only thing that's changed from the beginning are the wicked priests of King Noah are still in the land of Nephi. That is the storyline of the book of Mosiah. I'll make sure to put this slide up for you. Kind of gives you, the numbers and what happened, although they're missing all the fun stuff in the middle there. One quick thing before I let you go, and that is look at the way that Mormon, our narrator, uses flashbacks. What he'll do is he'll tell a story and then he'll say, okay, let's now jump 80 years back in time. And then he will slowly tell the story until it catches up to a moment in a story he just told. So when he does that, you'll notice when you've read the book of Mosiah that he tells the story of how Ammon, the one that comes from Zarahemla, gets arrested by Limhi, the son of Noah, who is the son of Zeniff. Is this all making sense? He says in Mosiah 7 that Ammon was with Amalekite, Helam and Hem, and they went down to the land of Nephi and they met the king, who's Limhi. We don't know his name yet in Mosiah 7, but we do because we've read. His name is Limhi, and they were taken and bound and committed to prison. Well, that's from Ammon's point of view. We then get the exact same moment in time from Limhi's point of view all the way over in Mosiah 21. Can you see how the flashback? Look at the column down, Mosiah 1 through 8. He tells this little story, and then he jumps back in time in Mosiah 9, and he says, let's go all the way story. And so it's catching up to itself around Mosiah 21 and 22. And it says the king, Limhi, was without the gates of the city, meaning he was outside the gates of the city with his guard. He discovered Ammon and his brethren, and he thinks they're the priests of Noah, and he caused, and they should be taken and cast and bound into prison. So this same event is told twice because of the way Mormon chooses to tell the story. And he gives you a point in time in which the story will catch up to where it was. I hope that's making sense. If not, that's okay. Let me know. Maybe one more thing, and that is when this whole thing begins. Zeniff, had Zeniff never left Zarahemla, his son Noah would have been raised in Zarahemla. And who would have been his king? He wouldn't have been king. His king would have been Benjamin. So that means Noah would have listened to the sermon of King Benjamin instead of having the life that he had. Now, I don't think Zeniff intended that, and Zeniff's not a bad guy. But you're like, man, you willingly walked away from the prophet. And look how he describes himself later. This is Zeniff. He says, I was overzealous. I wasn't thinking. I almost hear him saying, I shouldn't have ever left. Elder Holland said this. Not long ago, Sister Holland and I met a fine young man who came in contact with us after he'd been roaming around through the occult, its religion, and sorting through a variety of Eastern religions, all in an attempt to find some faith. His father, he admitted, believed in nothing, but his grandfather, he said, was actually a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter day Saints, but he didn't do much with it, the young man said. He was pretty cynical about the church. From a grandfather who is cynical, to a son who is agnostic, to a grandson who is now looking desperately for what God had already once given his family. When I read that, I thought of Zeneph and Limhi. Zeneph willingly leaves Zarahemla, and Limhi is using all of his energy and strength to get back to a place that his grandfather willingly walked away from. Elder Holland says, please be aware that the full price to be paid for such a stance does not always come due in your lifetime. Payments come out of your children's and your grandchildren's pockets in far more expensive ways than you ever intended them to be. Parents cannot simply flirt with skepticism or cynicism, then be shocked when their children expand that flirtation into a full blown romance. No, we can hardly expect the children to get to shore safely if the parents don't seem to know where to anchor their own boat. Fascinating, right? Fascinating that Zeneph's choices end up impacting Noah and Limhi and so many others in such terrible, terrible ways. Okay, we'll do one more video where we pick up the Sermon of King Benjamin, a little bit of Abinadi and Alma the elder and Alma the younger. All right, you're awesome. Hope this helps. Bye.